Welcome to Keepers of the Word. You're here with Mike, Ron, and James. We've got some plugs and thank yous that we want to give to start off this particular episode. I want to shout out and say thank you to Rode,
Samson,
Sweetwater.
All right, and my shout out, my plug is for Never Die. I mentioned it last time on the last episode. That's our brother Casey, who's the new member of our Keepers of the Word team here. He's got a brand new T-shirt company, and it's got some really, really cool stuff on it. nvrdie.store. Go there, check it out, see the cool stuff that he's got. You got any shout-outs there, James?
to give shout-outs to all of the keepers, friends and family, and fans that are supporting us. Thank you. I'd like to give a personal shout-out to all my friends and family, teachers, personal libraries.
Those witch communities. And
covens, groups, temples, and everything that has been open to me and allowed me to come in and learn things from mouth to ear.
Brujo.
That as well, to better accommodate you guys, the fans and viewers out there, to be well-rounded.
And I want to say thank you to MasonicSense.com. Masonic
That's Paul,
Sense.
right?
Yeah, that's Paul, and he still doesn't have the pancake breakfast. And
Past
I'm waiting for that
master,
one.
stinky old,
past master.
not the way they did it my year.
Stale cigars.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, some new stuff we got coming down the pipeline, guys. We are working on a Patreon, so we are very thankful for all of our communities, all of our followers, all of our friends, everybody that's part of and supporting Keepers of the Word. We really, really appreciate it. And if you appreciate us, then, if there's something that you'd like, some part of Patreon level that you'd like to be involved with, please do get involved. We will have exclusive content.
Merch content.
We're going to have special merch for the certain levels of the Patreon subscribers. As soon as we have that all rocking and rolling, we'll let you guys know, and we'll give you all the complete details. But it's in the works right now. Also, we've got that really, really cool giveaway that we're doing with the merch from keepersoftheword.net. Anybody that has purchased since the last episode is being entered into that. And tomorrow we are going to announce the winner. So if you haven't already bought some merch, get in there, get a chance to win that really, really cool piece of furniture that Brother Mike over here busted out, put a lot of
Nice.
blood, sweat, tears, and love into. It was really, really cool.
I will take it.
Right on. So how are we? What are we here for today, Ron?
Well, Mike, let me tell you what we are here for. We are here to talk about the Winter Solstice. The Winter Solstice is coming up, and the Winter Solstice is really about a death and rebirth. The death of the old season, the death of the darkness, the birth of the sun and the new light and the new seasons. And every culture, every spiritual group, every religion, pretty much everywhere across the globe has a way to celebrate, practice, deal with the winter solstice. So we noticed that of all of these groups, there was a few that we decided to go ahead and do a little bit of research on and check out. So I can start it out talking about the Roman cult of Sol Invictus.
So before you say that, before you get on that,
Okay.
Solstice means sun stands still.
Correct.
So sun stands still, that's solstice. And going into the solstice, we have a bunch of different religions or
Right.
cults that followed. And starting Ron, go for it.
So with that,
Sorry.
it was no, it's cool.
just
Thanks,
wanted to
Mike.
jump in
Appreciate
there.
it.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Roman cult of Sol Invictus. So Sol Invictus was the cult that the Roman Emperor Aurelian started. It was created somewhere between AD 270 and 275, and basically it was the was a takeoff from the previous sun god or Sol. So Sol Invictus was the conqueror of the previous. And so he brought in this new cult that would celebrate this birth of the sun god, the new sun god. And the counterpart was Luna. So Luna was the moon, was the goddess, and Luna controlled the night, and Sol controlled the day. And he believed, and it was common practice within that time, that the Sol god drew the sun across the sky with a chariot of 4 horses, and the Luna goddess pulled the moon across the sky with 2 horses. So during this time, there was a great feast that would occur usually between December 17th and December 23rd was the feast. And that was really, that was the festival that would be celebrated for the harvest.
Yeah, so festival's a party.
It was a party, and it was all about harvesting the food during that time of the season. And so they would have this big party with all the food, and then when Sol Invictus ceremony came during the solstice, they would have chariot races in the circus, which was the giant place where all the public gathering would occur. Basically, it was this place where they would do the chariot races and the battles and the lions and all of that stuff. So during this time, they would have chariot races to celebrate the Sol Invictus, to honor him pulling the sun across the sky.
Pretty cool, man. So I got Yule.
You got Yule.
I got Yule. So we're going to talk about Winter Solstice and Yule. Yule is a celebration of the return of the light. This is the promise being fulfilled of light birthing out of darkness. Very similar to what Ron was talking about. It is a time to share love and celebrate with our friends and family. At the winter solstice, we have reached the deepest depth of the darkness. This is the end. This is when the darkness is now going to yield over to the light. So now you have the deepest depth of the darkness with the longest night of the year. The darkness has reached its peak. It is a time for the goddess to give birth to the sun god, or the sun. And during this time, a lot of pagan families or groups and cultures, because this is all throughout the north, from Germany or Gaul area all the way up to the Nordic tribes and stuff like that, to Scandinavia. They have slightly different variations, but they're all very, very, very similar. You have things that you guys would probably understand or see around your Christmas holiday. You have the evergreen, which is hung around doorways and windows. Mistletoe, everybody knows about a mistletoe. The mistletoe basically lives between worlds. It's between the sky and heaven and earth, and it has magical properties. You have the holly branch. The holly's spiky bristles were believed to repel unwanted spirits. This is why we have the holly branch that's used around Christmas. And then, of course, the Yule tree. Everybody knows the tree. So the pines and firs were cherished as a symbol of rebirth and life in the depths of winter. So basically, pagan families would bring in a live tree into the home so that the wood spirits that live inside of it would have a place to keep warm. Food and treats were hung around the branches as offerings for the wood spirits to eat. This is where you bring your candy cane, your little gingerbread man and stuff like that, and actually hang it on the tree, the cookies
Popcorn.
and stuff like that, popcorn, all these different things. So we can see, these traditions that are echoed throughout history that we still observe today, whether you are pagan or not. Christmas is by far probably one of the biggest pagan holidays that everybody practices. So this is something that has never died. This is something that has always gone on, and this goes with the saying, and the wheel turns. And this is the turning of the wheel of life, of death, of light and darkness. This is something that will forever go on, even when we're not around.
And, wow, that's very informative. And a lot of it ties into what I got, which is Christianity and the solstice. And if you're trying to tie in the sun with Christianity, the only sun that you're actually tying in is Jesus. Correct. Jesus the Son.
Son of God.
Yes. But how did we get that? Because Jesus was not born December 25th.
No.
But they're going off of the Annunciation, which is that time where the Virgin Mary was spoken to by Gabriel and told her you're pregnant with the Son of God. And they figured, well, 9 months from that date is December 25th. And then you're looking at other areas where they're talking about the Gregorian calendar versus the Julian calendar, where in some places in England, you're still they're still celebrating Old Christmas on January 7th. So if we're looking at this, it's pretty much just an adoption of what you just spoke of, Yule, the Son of God, and also Saturnalia. Like at that time, that's where the big transition was happening, and Saturnalia was just tearing up cities and people were. It was a purge. You could do whatever you want, and you didn't get in trouble with it.
Well, Saturnalia was actually the feast that I had mentioned earlier.
Right.
When I did my research, the 17th through the 23rd was
It's like a whole week.
It
of
was
party.
It was a harvest. It was a harvest festival.
And then this is technically the darkest day of the year, the day with little light, right? And in Christianity, you have the only thing that really kind of points to it, but it's still very pagan, is if you look up at the sky and you're looking at Sirius, which is the brightest star at this time, and you have Orion's belt, which back in ancient times, which was known by many different cultures as the Three Kings, visiting the Eastern Star and pointing at the sun when it rises on the 25th. So
it's all celestial.
It's all celestial, but it's also all kind of pointing at Sol Invictus and also pointing at Yule. So the truth is, Christianity was just adopting a bunch of other religions at that time because, yes, it was a time of rebirth. So we're talking about the birth of Christ. We're not talking about the death, though. But in Christianity, they also say that the death and the birth were on the same date, March 25th.
You know, that
which didn't
varies
really
greatly.
sit right, you know? So trying to put anything that has to do with the solstice and Christianity, there really isn't anything that's tying it at all. Everything's borrowed from other religions, and now it's called Christmas, which originally was called Christ Mass. And in a lot of Latin cultures to this day, you still go to midnight mass. Mm-hmm. That's right before, midnight. It ends, and then everybody goes home, and then you open your presents, and we don't like waiting for our presents.
So, talking about celestial events, have you heard what's going to occur this year?
Monday.
The convergence
Monday.
Oh, is that
on
21st?
the solstice.
Where all the planets align?
This
It's
has
not
not
all
happened.
the planets. It's Venus.
It's almost all of them.
and
This has
Jupiter,
not
I believe.
happened in over 800
Yeah,
years.
it happens something like every 800 years, and
Correct.
it hasn't been for a while, but it is going to appear like the Star of Bethlehem, a
wow.
ginormous.
So Sirius is
Star.
going to be huge.
It's not Sirius. It's Venus. It's Venus and Saturn, I believe, that
Okay.
are Jupiter. I'm sorry, Jupiter and Saturn.
Saturn's
Thank
great
you.
conjunction.
Check
The
that
Great
out. We got
Conjunction.
the Great Conjunction. So that's on the day of the solstice. There's going to be a Great Conjunction.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do on this day.
And what can you do?
Example.
Example.
People talk about all kind of things, frequencies, for example. A lot of people like to tune things in on that day. I mean, you're going to have a really good pull with these planets aligned up. There's a lot of different things that are spoken of. You have different cultures talked about when the planets align, that you have gods that can come down, that ride between the planets and come down and stuff like that, ancient cultures.
So would you say it's compared to when there's a full moon?
No.
And it kind of affects us differently?
It does affect us in that aspect, but this is like 100 times.
Because I don't want to be I don't want to be in a family function and just lose my shit.
Well, that's where you have lunacy. So, you know, lunatic is when the full moon is out, and it does pull on us a little bit. That's what people do believe, and you become a lunatic when the full moon's out, or it must be crazy. It must be a full moon out because so many things are happening right now. Yeah.
So talking about
Celestial.
practices and things that you can do, there are places that you can go to celebrate.
Specifically, yes.
Yes, celebrate or view the winter solstice. And Chacon Canyon in New Mexico is one of those places.
We almost went there, didn't we, Ron?
We did almost go there, and I definitely plan on still continuing.
We should plan an
to-
episode there
yeah,
eventually.
I think we should.
Guys.
That whole area, apparently the Chacoan people were very, very aware of the night skies and what was going on in the heavens, and they were well versed in understanding what was going on so that they could know when to plant their crops and all of those type of things. So in that area of Chacon Canyon, they have developed, these are the people that are related to the Pueblo Indians, and they have an area with different great houses there. And from what I understand, one of those great houses you can go to and you can view across the horizon through the
slots.
Through this, well, actually, it's I guess one of the houses has the slot that you can see
The
during
window,
the window shows the I believe it's the summer solstice or one of the equinoxes. But actually, as far as the winter solstice is concerned, there is the mountain range in the background from one of the great houses that you can view the setting or the rising sun. And as it gets closer and closer to the day of the winter solstice, the sun will get to the very point where the mountain range converges, has a little gateway, if you will. And so they're able to watch that rising sun as it's getting closer and closer to that point. And then when it's in the very center of that point, then they're able to know that is the day that is the winter solstice. And so many people go to view the winter solstice, to meditate, to honor the solstice, to welcome in the new year, what have you. So
It's a beautiful thing. I would love to go there. I think the last time, it was equinox. What the equinox?
I think so.
We tried to go there.
We were going to go.
I think I was maybe like a 6-hour drive from it.
Wow.
So
Yeah, you were in
I was
Arizona
in
or
Arizona
with
I
relatives,
was in
right?
Prescott, Arizona.
Prescott.
Prescott, like get. That's what they tell you, like get. I had to be corrected so many times. Prescott.
Prescott.
And I wanted to drive out there, but I had no partner because I just drove like 6 hours already.
We'll do it.
Yeah, we gotta do it for
We got
sure.
to check it out, that's for sure.
I'm down for that, man.
Yeah, we'll get a Keepers on the Road or something. So this brings us to other celestial fixtures that you can go to in the world and watch the natural procession of the celestial bodies. My favorite and something that's dear to my heart that I've spoken on in lectures and in episodes and stuff like that, and likewise, is Newgrange. This is in Ireland. Newgrange, everybody talks about Stonehenge, and Stonehenge is amazing, and Karnak and all that, and that's great. But Newgrange is where it's at. If you've not seen that, definitely check out Newgrange. So Newgrange is basically, it's best known for the illumination of its passages and chamber by the winter solstice sun. Above the entrance of the passageway is a opening they call a roof box. And this roof box allows a beam of light to pass through this passage, all the way down the passage, at a very specific time on the winter solstice. And for 17 minutes, precisely, it lights the end of this passage. So the building itself, to give you guys some feedback, the building is the second oldest building in Europe, which is really, really freaking old. And they're guesstimating through carbon dating that this was built between roughly 3200 and 3100 BC. So this is very, very old building. The technology to do this should not really have existed. The amount of man hours and manpower put into this building is astronomical. They speculate that families probably built this through generations. It was your like creed or your family job to uphold this. The white walls are made up of quartz stone. It was rediscovered in 1699 by accident, and it was never excavated until 1960s. In the 1960s.
Wow, that's a long time.
It's a very long time. So this place was like pillaged. You know, the uber rich would go there and check it out as like something cool to go see and kind of trample all over it without having a proper excavation in mind.
What was that building used for?
So there's a lot of speculations on what the building was used for. I'm going to step into that really quick because it's something I really like, something I've actually studied. So we're talking about light and death and the rebirth. So basically what Newgrange in a nutshell is going to represent is the womanly womb. So you have the celestial...
I saw the picture of it there. It very much looks like a womb.
It is a womb.
Like a mud house.
So if you can actually see a cross piece of this, if they cut off the roof and you're looking down at the separate chambers, it's going to look like a womb. So there's little separate chambers off to the side, left and the right. But it represents the womb. So basically what ends up happening is you have the celestial bodies, or the heavenly bodies, which the light would come through this window box and go all the way back into the uterus of the womb part of Newgrange to impregnate
create new life.
To create new life, correct. So this is all the cycle of life. And a lot of people go, well, why would you think that? Like that's dumb, that's whatever, that's magic, hocus pocus. So this death and rebirth has been one of the most sacred staples in almost any culture. And to symbolize that, or what they're reproducing, is the reproduction organs of both heaven and earth, and how earth got here, how life got here, and then we mirror that. So it's always micro, macro, right? Micro above, micro below. As above, so
like within Freemasonry,
like in
we
Freemasonry.
have the Hiramic legend of death and rebirth.
Very, very similar. So to continue with that, so it's called a brew. It's a B-R-U, brew. And in Irish, the word brew is translated as womb. So they even called this a womb. And so this is why we view it as that, because it was representing the rebirth cycles. So on December 21st, the lights basically penetrate through the little box, hits all the way down. Now at the end of this, they have a pedestal or a pillar, if you will, that has a bunch of spiral circles on it in the back. And it actually illuminates these as the sun is going through. It's a really beautiful thing. You guys can watch it online. If you've never seen it, take some time out of your day to watch celestial dance physically happen in front of your eyes. It's a very beautiful thing.
Wow.
Well, aside from the whole death and rebirth portion of it, there's also, I think, a lot of theories that these were also calendar machines. So if there was some great cataclysm, the great flood that occurred, and people needed to be able to rebuild societies, they had to figure out when the seasons were happening, when time was occurring, when the seasons were going, and be able to build calendar machines for this.
This is almost a bigger version of that, because you have, to build this, you have to have the calendar already. So what this is basically they are physically, through ritual, reenacting this. So you have a lot of theory that goes on when you have a king or somebody of high importance that is going to die. There are stories and traditions of a king entering the womb and a baby coming out. And this is not them magically changing, but to when you have his offspring or somebody that's being born, it's literally
The continuation.
the spirit is now going to the newborn. And then the midwife or whom have you comes out with a baby, and the king is now dead. That's what the chambers, they thought it was for a chamber for the king or some king that was buried and stuff, but it's laid out as a womb.
Interesting.
And I got the Serpent Mound. Serpent Mound of Ohio. Serpent Mound is a internationally known historic landmark built by the Native American cultures of Ohio. It is an effigy mound, a mound in the shape of an animal. Representing a snake with a curled tail, nearby are 3 burial mounds, 2 created by the Adena culture and 1 by the Fort Ancient culture. So the Adena culture existed 800 BC through 100 AD, and the Fort Ancient culture was from 1000 AD to 1650 AD. So they still don't know to this day which culture built it. And the way it was made out of a clay. It was a clay mound, and on top of it put gravel, and that allowed foliage to grow and grass and all that stuff. So it was meant to be seen from the sky. So who the hell were they trying to show this to, right? So getting into some of my findings in 1987, Clark and Marjorie Hardman published their findings in the findings that the oval 2-head area of the Serpent is aligned to the summer solstice sunset. William Romaine had suggested an array of lunar alignments based on the curves of the effigy's body. Fletcher and Cameron argue convincingly for the Serpent Mound's coiled mean aligned to the 2 solstice and 2 equinox events each year. So the solstice comes up in the head. No, solstice comes up in the tail, and the equinox comes up in the head.
I thought it was winter in the head and summer in the tail.
No,
No,
I think it's the other way around. But it was puzzling on to how the way it was made and why. Why is there reference to the sky at this time? Now, I think going back to what you were saying is that the cultures of past needed to figure out a way to measure time. Now, if you put a point of reference, an actual point of reference that you can really say, okay, well, on this day at this time, it's this.
Correct.
You can measure out from there. And I think that's what the Serpent Mound is. Now, we're saying that it has like an eye in the front, or is it a egg? It's a serpent swallowing an egg.
Which would be very symbolic across the
But
world.
it could also be the horned serpent, which there's doubt in that, but they're talking about the ancient horned serpent of the First Nations. So really there's nothing to be found as to why it's there. I mean, there's nothing, but they do know that it has something to do with the celestial lights.
And what was the guesstimated date that it was built again?
They're saying it's between 800 BC to 1000 AD.
Wow.
I mean, it's amazing.
And they still can't figure that out right now. And if you look at other ancient cultures that have things like this, right? Like where's the Nazca lines?
Peru.
There's a
Machu Picchu.
there's a purpose
From the sky.
right?
You see
you're
those from
seeing
the
this from the
sky.
sky.
Yeah.
Right.
So who are you showing this to?
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of the ancient cultures, if you look at their stories of creation, there's always something coming from the sky,
Yeah. The gods.
right? And they knew that something flew, and they were able to see it. So this was kind of a way for them to communicate back.
I wonder if there was like a book that talked about this, huh?
I don't know.
It's not like one book that talks about like celestial things and alignments and stuff like that.
Are you referring to the book?
The book.
Like
Book of Enoch. This is all Book of Enoch. So Book of Enoch talks about this, about seeing a machine, about how it's laid out, the
You're
procession.
talking about Uriel's machine?
Uriel's machine. Yeah.
Great book. But yeah, just the Book of Enoch. There's like 3 different ones. They have the Slavonic, Ethiopian, and the book, the secret book of Enoch. But yeah, he talks about celestial movements and pathways and gates that open up on certain days, which we have equinoxes and winter solstice. And he writes all that down. He talks about measuring stuff. He was the measurer of measurers, and talks about how he watched the angels go out and measure everything, and he was recording all this because he was the holy scribe, and he would write down everything. So, you know, the Book of Enoch is one of the oldest written versions that we have of man trying to, you know, write down these this clockwork that we can watch in the celestial heavens. It's a very beautiful thing.
Chariot of the Gods was in reference to that, correct?
Chariots of God. I mean, so many people talk about the book Enoch. Yeah, but Chariots of Gods, he talked about all kind of stuff.
Yeah, Uriel's Machine also talked about it, which
That's very,
was
more
Robert
specific.
Lomas
And Christopher Knight.
Christopher Knight, yeah. Which,
Two great guys.
Which goes back to what I was talking about with calendar machines. That was their concept
Amazing
of
stuff.
with the equinoxes being equal. It was it's even a theory that within Freemasonry, the point within a circle with the pillars on the opposite sides, the pillars represent two pillars to determine the equinox to start that calendar machine.
I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about.
But I know
too much on that, and I get in trouble. But that is specifically, you can physically see it. And if I went and I got like a little sticker that named something and put it on certain tools that we have, that would literally lay out what it is. That's how you make these machines.
The pillars,
not just the pillars.
Yeah. Well, the sticks.
It goes further.
Horizon.
It goes further into that,
Yeah.
where you can actually lay down the lines and the footwork and stuff like that. It's literally you're inside of a temple.
And this is how you measure. This is one way you're saying that,
This is not only how you measure the heavens, but how you measure a man.
but you're measuring time.
And time, but you have to measure a man, circumnavigate your passions and stuff like that. We all this measuring and stuff. It's amazing stuff.
It is amazing stuff.
So in my findings, I'm sorry I couldn't find anything really cool out of it, other than it was made out of clay.
Well, I mean, I think it's cool enough that it's
there.
It's a mystery.
There, and it's another, very much like Chacon Canyon, it's a place for us that's close enough to go to.
Right.
I mean, Ohio's a little farther, but we
Whoever's
could get
out there in
but-
Ohio, man, go get some pictures.
Anybody
Send
on
us
the
some
East
pictures.
Coast that wanted to go check it out and celebrate and honor the solstice.
If we have any fans out there that has pictures of Newgrange, please send them this way. I would love to see some personal photos of Newgrange.
For sure, for sure.
Yes, sir.
So, guys, I guess we're getting close to the end. Yeah. Okay. If I had my glasses, I could see that.
Sharing your, what's your favorite Christmas memory?
My favorite Christmas memory.
I got one already.
You got one. Go for it.
I
Go
was
for
going
it,
to say
James.
this one. When you wake up in the morning and like everything's all warm, you're like a hot turkey inside your blanket, going back to your childhood memories, and what's happening outside when you wake up, the first moments. Then you go outside and you're cold 'cause you just left your little blanket, and now it's like presents, and you stay in your pajamas and you eat food. Like just a memory of having like that warmth. It's all nice and cold and warm inside your blanket. And then food, you get food and family and friends. Then like the rest of the couple days afterwards, you're just playing with your toys. So it would be a childhood memory of that.
Good times. You got some, Mike?
Well, I think it was a general memory. It happened, as a kid, it happened every year. I had a big family, and we just all got together and celebrated. The kids would be causing havoc somewhere. The adults would be drinking and
Of course.
eating and listening to music, and it was just a really good time, good partying, spending time with your family. And looking back at it, this was 20 years ago, it's hard, but it's good because now I'm making those new memories now. And I got something good to go off of.
That's funny. If I can think back, I think one of the best memories that I have was I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I woke up on Christmas morning, and I had like an Evel Knievel toy, like one of those the air launchers
the
that would
bikes.
launch the bike
The
across.
white suit.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think they're bringing back that Evel Knievel toy right now, like the wind up one. I've seen it on like social media or something like that, and it's like when I saw that, I did have a little bit of a flashback to my childhood. And the funny thing is that those are some of our really cherished memories. Is how awesome it was as a child in your innocence to enjoy that season. And I think it becomes our responsibility as adults to help continue to perpetuate that and pass it on. And the same way that within our spiritual paths, we want to honor our ancestors.
For sure.
On the same note, we want to be able to pass forward those practices, those memories, those good times, so that our offspring and the future generations can have similar type of really, really exciting stuff that they have, and then just keep it going.
Agreed. For me, it was a Nintendo. Like, I think
I remember getting that.
I remember seeing a box and I
Yep.
opened it up and I just lost it.
I had the Duck Hunt version.
I had the Gyromite version.
Oh, watch out.
The fucking yeah, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, I never had
Never
that.
used that stupid thing.
No, I've
It was
always
a little
wanted it. I
Rob
never
the
got
robot.
it. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just threw that to the side and was just.
Nope. I had the
in
Duck
mouth.
Hunt version. I remember my
The gun
uncles
and everything?
Yeah, my uncles took over. I played like once, and like they took over. They're all drunk and playing the game and stuff. It's a great time. But as soon as they left, I remember I was like, "It's my turn." And I was on that. Get out of here! Yeah, it was so fun. All the cousins got to go play and stuff. So it was great times.
So, this time of the shut-in and COVID, I mean, it's definitely a weird Christmas. It's a weird season, but during this time for the last several months, I mean, what have you been doing, James? How are you keeping yourself busy? What are you doing?
James is always busy. James needs to drop a few things because he's too busy. So I study a lot. Not only do I study, but I practice what I study. So I've been expanding on my practices. I just got a lovely roll top desk with Mike over here.
That was a nice little find, huh?
He helped me to go pick that up. Yes.
That was a big mofo.
That was very heavy, but it's amazing. So now I have my apothecary set up in it and all my tidbits and things like that for ritual practices and stuff like that. And for candle making, waxes, seals, and scrolls, and my carvings and stuff like that. And maybe, hopefully, we branch off to some forging and smithing and stuff.
I'm
Red
down for
Forge
that.
is going to be born.
Maybe,
I'm down for
maybe,
that.
yeah. We're looking into that. So, there's a lot of things going on. That's why I always say thank you to all my friends, family, and teachers and peers that are out there that support me in all my wacky endeavors and weird things. To some people, and then to me, it's just normal. I always got to remember when people walk into my house, I'm like, wait, hold on. Whoa. I can explain, like, it's nothing crazy.
Explain.
This is just me every day, James.
Why is she
I'm
hanging
sorry.
upside down, James?
Lucy, you
it's a
got a
Christmas
lot of
tree.
explaining to do.
Yeah, James is, I got to occupy my brain with a lot of things, so.
Okay. Well,
So yeah, along with my bookcases and everything, my wonderful, cool furniture I got, I've been practicing, man. I've been trying to utilize as much time as I can, because if I'm gonna say one thing to all my fans out there and all Keepers fans and everybody that's out there listening, if you have not learned anything, if you have not picked up one new skill during this time of COVID, you are lacking. Go and pick up a new skill.
I think you just got called
Straight got
out.
called out. But
So what about you, Mike?
It's the truth. Well, I've been very busy. Me and my wife started upcycling furniture beginning of the year, and then once COVID hit, it started to really get momentum, and we started taking on harder projects. And now we're really taking on some heavy, hard projects that have yielded good results and also good money. So you'll check out Antique Vintage Finds on Instagram, and that's all our stuff. And we also shout out to other people who do the same thing. Furniture Artist is a hashtag that's out there. If you put that in there, you'll see what we're talking about. And it's
Some good stuff.
taking some nice antique furniture and revitalizing it. I sand it all down. I get in there, get some good stain. It pretty much brings it back to life. I clean up the brass so it looks brand new, but I'm giving it a different twist. I'm changing the color, I'm changing the tones, and I'm making it, really cool. So Yeah, check it out.
Some of those dry bars that you've done have just been freaking really cool.
They're fun to work on. I like to incorporate lighting into a lot of the stuff that we do.
You're a light guy.
Yeah, I like to put lighting in different ways, so that way it's either antique or it's something cool, you know. So that's something I've been working on, and I got some ideas for your desk, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, check that out. I wish I was as productive as you guys. I've been watching a lot of freaking TV.
Porn.
No. I don't need a freaking. I don't need a COVID to. Anyways, no. I've been binging like everybody. I've been watching a lot of comedy stuff. I really dig I really like comedy, but then also The Last Kingdom's been. I watched the whole freaking 4 seasons of Last Kingdom. It's
good.
A really, really good show. I really enjoyed that. So I did start doing a little more meditation. I have my altar. I added some things to my altar. I actually added a mirror. So I've been doing some scrithing, it hasn't.
Careful with that. We should talk about that later.
It hasn't been exactly. I mean, it's just a regular mirror, so
We're probably storing that mirror.
Yeah,
We'll talk later. We'll talk.
It's in a good place. I always bless it, and I always have the the incense going, and make sure that gets started, and I have found that after talking with you that with the different types of altars that you can have, I kind of set it up originally as an all-purpose altar, but it has a lot of
It's better to have each one.
Well, it has a lot of my, which we talked about. It has a lot of my ancestor stuff on it. It has my pops, his flag, his ashes. It's got pictures of him. So I do find myself. I think regardless of what else I have on my altar, it's essentially my ancestors' altar, because during my times of meditation, I find myself leaning towards meditating on my ancestors and communicating with my dad and with my grandma and stuff like that. So
it's good stuff, man.
I've started and it's still slow, but I'm working on it.
So this is what we've been doing, right? So this is what we've been doing during COVID.
This is it. So we want to know what you guys have been doing. We want to know how you're going to handle the solstice, the death, the rebirth. This is a time of having New Year's resolutions. I mean, that's what this is all about. This is the death of the old and the birth of the new. So if you guys would send us some messages on
The
Instagram,
comments.
send some
Instagram
comments out there.
keepers, hit us up individually.
Drop a DM, leave some comments.
Yeah,
let
hit
us
up.
know.
Let us know what you guys want to
are
hear,
doing.
listen to, see. Next things you guys want us to dive into. You guys got something cool you think we've missed on or something like that, let us know.
You can definitely ask questions on our website. We've got that section there too.
A whole brand new website that's just growing
go to the
by the day.
website, check out all the stuff we got there.
Keepersoftheword.net.
Don't forget to share, like, subscribe. And, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. So happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
And I want to say, remember, the esoteric truths of life are the key. You can't
Bye. Steal.
beg it or borrow it. But once you obtain it, you can unlock the shut door in the palace of the king.